So I did respite at Autism Ontario this semester, and my boy, who is a 3 years old boy, has ASD, and actually I'm not very sure about like his family because I didn't talking about this with his father, and sometimes I will see his father, but I can think that his father is a very important part of the multidisciplinary team because his father is always like try to reinforce his kids about like his correct behavior. Sometimes when I say like when they leave, the father will say put your coat on, and if that kid did a good job and did everything correct, the father will say okay you did a good job and give him a high five. And I think this is a positive reinforcement for the kids. So I think his father is trying to just like reinforce his kids' correct behavior, and that's why I think he is a very important part to help the kids in the multidisciplinary team. And Autism Ontario is a kind of community support. So family and they send their kids to the agency and they sign and they will leave. Sometimes they will do some grocery shopping because there is a supermarket nearby, and or they will relax themselves for a while, but they are like waiting for them. Like I know all of the parents, they're waiting for them just near the agency in case there's any like emergency happened. And so for my kids, we did basically three kind of activities for him. So the first one is puzzle. So he did a 21 pieces puzzle, and actually like we did the same puzzle for 3 times during the whole respite I am there. And the first time I just like looking at my watch, and he spent around 10 minutes to finish that. And there's like sometimes he will like off task and lose his attention about that. And uh, the other like student and I, we will try to get his attention back on that. And the second time and the third time, he just used around 5 minutes to finish all the puzzles, and he didn't lose much attention as the first time. And I think which is good, which means he can focus more. And I think this is more because of maybe some other training he did for 6 weeks, or he is more like know or understand about that puzzle, so that's more easier for him. And we also did bubbles, so he really loves the bubbles. Every time when we said do you want to do bubbles, he will be like seems very happy about that and very excited. So the way we always do is that, so I will use the bubble thing and I will do the first time and I will show it to him, let him to do the second time, and so my turn, his turn, my turn, his turn. And from that, like my very finding is that he can do modeling, like because for myself I am a very good like the bubble blower. I know a lot of skills to blow that a big bubble with that kind of soap. And so sometimes when I do some like skills, so at first that kid don't know about these skills, so he just like trying to blow them. And later when he like noticed my skills, so because sometimes I will use the bubble stick to stick the bubbles back, and then that will make a bigger bubble. And then so he will try. So when I was doing this, he will like pointing these bubbles. I think that maybe like makes me to like stick these bubbles, and I just do for them, and then he starts blow, and then the bubble becomes bigger, and he is like really excited about that. So sometimes bubble will be a kind of like reinforcement we use during the respect. Sometimes if he like finish the puzzles, that kind of thing, we will do some bubbles, so make him more happier. And the third thing is about singing. So at the first time I met her, actually that time I don't have any experience, so I don't know what can I do for him. And like our supervisor there, she just asked, do you want to do some singing, and start singing. Like the thing is the little shark, and he started and can't stop. So he just like sing it and sing it all the time. Around like maybe 3 minutes, he is keep like singing, and he didn't show any interest about like other song. but I think maybe he loves singing. Yeah. But like basically, this is the three activities we did there, and the favorite thing for him is the bubbles. Okay, and yes, of course, I think there's some challenge when I was do like helping to do the respite there. Um, I think the most important part is like when he has some interactions with other kids there. So one day I remember when he is playing train with another boy who is a little bit older than him, also has ASD, and uh, they are like sharing the train thing. And that boy, he didn't ask and just like pick his train, like pick my kid's train and to do that. And like it's very like these two kids, they just share the same like the train system, and they didn't talk to each other. Sometimes they will just take others train, they will take each other's train, and they didn't ask, they didn't apologize to each other, and they didn't argue. So it's like so quiet when they play that, so they may just like can ignore each other and playing that. So sometimes we will try to like let, because always like when we do the trains, it's not only one kid, some kids they are playing together, and we will just like try to let them say, can I use that, or would you, okay, so that please. And if they did that, we will give them and say, we will give them some, okay, you did a good job, or give them like some bubbles as the reinforcer. So I think, yeah, the challenge is like my kids, he still like lack of social interaction with other kids there. And the other thing I feel in that like respect is not about my kid. So one day the other kid, he is like seems very upset. I think like our supervisor said the reason is might the mom she leaves without telling him, like maybe 1 hour later I will pick you, and the kids is like screaming and throwing everything in the classroom, and finally he just like tried to escape. Like that time we are very like worry about that, because like outside the building there's like traffics, and he is like around maybe 5 years old and running so fast, so we don't know, like three of our people, we just like try to run outside and catch him. And everything is like luckily his mom is waiting outside for him, and his mother like just picking her back, so that's good. So I can't like imagine if like he ran outside the building and finding his mom, what will happen. And actually I don't have any experience to know what should I do at that time. Do I need to hold him maybe rudely because to keep his safe, or maybe some other ways? So I maybe want to get more information about that later if I have any like chance. And so I think during the respite time, I like improve my personal like problem solving skill. And because when I be there, when I meet my kids, I will like brainstorm first, so what can I do first. And when like something like happened, or I was like brainstorming everything about what can I do, what is the best way, and thinking about every possible consequence about that. And then I will choose the best way, which is like showing enough like respect or enough effective, and like maybe which can fit my other skills and to interact with him. So I have learned something about families. So like all the families, they will feel like they will like keep their children safe at the first place. So there's like two stories. The first one is I just said before, like the mom is always like waiting outside the agency, and in case like the children is run outside, and actually like every family there they did like that. And one day, because like the family is a little bit like misunderstanding, he think like our supervisor will leave, only like we will stay with the kids. And at that time he started to show, okay, so are you guys gonna to do this? If you gonna to do this, I will not put my kids there. That's because like I think because we are not like that profession, so the mom is like thinking about his kids and her kids, and she don't want like making any risk. So I think like all the families who has the child, I think whatever the child is like with or without like special needs, they always like put the kids safe at the first place, and they don't want like others hurt their kids. And I still know about like others like some things about the autism spectrum disorder. Actually, this is the first time I interact with the children who has ASD, and I know there's like such different types there. So I think regularly we will have 3 to 4 kids there, and my kid who is like 3 years old, very quiet, and there's another kid. He is not that quiet and a little bit like uh, a little like sometimes will show aggressive and screaming, and that kid. And one kid, he is have very good verbal skills, but he only like interested in animals. And that kid, uh, he is like around like 13 years old, and there's the other kid. He don't have, I don't think he has the verbal skills, but he can like just focus a lot on the Lego things. So I think all the like kids there, they're different type of the they have different like kind of like aspects, and they're totally different. So because like the but they all like have the autism. So I think if later I have chance to working with like more kids with autism spectrum disorder, I think the first is we need to know about like know about them and very deeply, and to know what is fit them, what is fit for their family, because they are really really different. Okay, that's the end of the video.